Date is December 21, 2022. The time is approximately 7:08 p.m. This is the regular meeting of the Redondo Beach Historical Commission, and I call this meeting to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Collin?
Here.
Commissioner Comiato? Commissioner Fernandez?
Here.
Commissioner Klinger?
Absent-minded but physically present.
Commissioner Morocco?
I'm present.
Chairperson Morocco?
Here.
Commissioner Vorstadt? Commissioner Zaremski? Okay, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And if we can do a salute to the flag, can everybody please rise, and Commissioner Fernandez will lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, first thing up is the approve the order of the agenda. Actually, first thing up is the purpose of the Historical Commission, which is to investigate, maintain, and catalog all historical information, documents, records, and pictures that would be of general interest to the city and its citizens, to compile records and recording, to promote the keeping of written historical record of the city in narrative form, to be an advisory body, and to perform volunteer services at the Redondo Beach Historical Museum. Okay, now we're moving on to item D, which is approving the order of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Klinger, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any public comment on that? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. Okay, the order is approved. We move to blue folder items. Are there any blue folder items?
No, there's not.
Okay, so we're done with that item. We're moving to the consent calendar. There are 4 items on the consent calendar. F1 is the affidavit of posting. F2 is the approval of minutes from November 16, 2022. F3 is a moment in Redondo Beach history. F4 is the museum donation fund and facility report. I'm looking for commissioners who want to pull items. I'm going to pull item F3 to the not excluded consent calendar. Is there any commissioner wishing to pull an item?
No.
Okay, so why don't we, is there any public comment on any of the consent calendar items? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay, Commissioner Klinger and Commissioner Collins second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, so the consent calendar is approved. I pulled item F3 because we actually don't have a moment of history in this meeting. So I just pulled it aside so that we can at least not have that as part of our approval. Any comments on that?
I can make a brief moment in history.
Okay.
Like a lot of the talk in the city is revitalizing the Artesia corridor. And I just want to highlight what's become a historical barbershop, Stormy's Barbershop. I've been getting my haircut there for over a decade. It's a great business, and it's definitely part of Redondo cultures. It does have a tribute to the Redondo Union football team. And I think it'd be cool for us to kind of mention and go into also a really historical business in Redondo that's been here for several decades and contributed to the city during our moment in history, in addition to the usual moment. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to receive and file Mr. Klinger, Commissioner Klinger's oral moment of history? I'm not hearing, what?
I think
So moved.
Commissioner Fernandez move. I'll second it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, so we now have F3 taken care of as already. We move on to item H, which is the public participation of non-agenda items. This section is intended to provide members of the public with an opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on this agenda for action. The section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. Each speaker will be permitted to speak only once. Written requests, if any, will be considered first under this section. And I have a request to speak from Matthew Kilroy. So if you want to come forward and share with us, and there should be a clock on this thing.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's unusual for me to be on this side of the dais, but I thought I'd introduce myself, Matt Kilroy, if you don't know me, former City Councilman, District 5. I'm running for City Treasurer in the upcoming March election, and just thought I'd come down to the different commissions and introduce myself. Can't really answer any questions because it's not agendized and whatnot, but I've been a resident for over 40 years here in Redondo Beach, raised 3 children. I now have 6 grandchildren, all living here in Redondo Beach. Over 30 years of government experience in the city of Redondo Beach, serving on the commissions as well as the city council, Measure School Bond Oversight Committee, 30 plus years in AYSO, also serving as treasurer in AYSO, auditor for PTSA for a number of years, Boy Scouts, Scoutmaster for a half dozen years, as well as another 20 plus years as various roles in Boy Scouts. I think it's really important going forward. In case you didn't know, the incumbent treasurer has declined to run again, so there is no incumbent, so to speak, for the March election. I have his endorsement. He asked me to run. I have Steve Aspel's endorsement. Probably the most important aspect for the city treasurer is integrity. I think my 30 plus years of experience and working in various commissions and city council kind of demonstrates my honesty, my integrity. There's never been a question. Been part of the city's audit review committee, so I know the budgets, I know the assets, I know what the job entails. Number one job for a city treasurer is to be the watchdog of your money, frankly, because it's your tax money, and make sure it's protected and safeguarded and ultimately spent appropriately. At the end of the day, I'm asking for your support and vote, and for the residents of Redondo Beach, and look forward to answering questions in the future if you have them, as I'm out there talking to people and knocking on doors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And keep up the good work. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and yeah, because it's still Hanukkah. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks.
Okay, any other members of the public wish to address this body? Okay, anybody on Zoom? Did we get Zoom?
Oh, we got a member coming up. We got a member coming up right now.
I understand. I'm just asking if there's anybody on Zoom. Hello again. Welcome back.
We did research, a little research. 11th century, Viking ships right out here. I seen a graphic, the 1842. I seen Spanish ships over here in the harbor, on this side, the south side, piers shooting out. So they're bringing cargo from afar to dump here. Backle, something of that nature. 1617, I did research. There may have been a tin can navy here, steamboat navy. Christopher Columbus came into port. He came in Arica, somewhere in like around Merced. He may have come in here. I'm not sure, but I'm researching it. There is a last winery monk run church. They're all Catholic. The pirates, if they went to England, George would say, off with the head, King George. But if they would go to Spain, they'd get beat and forced labor to build churches winery. There is one church that closed as a I think it was 87. My friend, he does the military stuff too. I think it was 82 or something like that. It has graphics. All these churches here, all Catholic, and if it's right, what he said, and it is on their graphics, monk ran winery under all these Catholic churches. That church, I think it's over there in Orange County. I'm not quite sure. So I can go over there and find the graphic. It's a tour place. You can go over there and tour. It's a mission. It's the last one. My friend told me he's military. He did 4 terms like I did. The last one was closed, so I think it was in 1982. So I can go over there and see the graphics, and maybe I can get copies. I don't know, but I can, see if they have them. But I'm sure he told me correct. So all these churches here, monk ran, and in the cellars, wine. You have history here. You do have history. So I have another friend. He has 7 PhDs. He said the same thing. He's all kinds of stuff. He said the same thing. The bike and chips, so forth and so on. So I can go over to I know it is. It's right next. It's not too far from the freeway. I mean, you go right by it. It's right there. You see it on the background. And so, kids, classrooms. We're over there. I'm 8 years old. No lie. Monk, bald head, and everything else. And so it was ran by monks. And they did do wine there because they told us that they make the wine and it's a ritual. Okay, now this is very true. The Pope himself can have real wine before he sleep or bed. It's only about that much that he's allowed to have it because of the tradition way back before Jesus. So that's true. The Pope is allowed, and he's the only one to have that, and the whole thing there is him. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Yeah. So I'll go over there.
Okay, anybody, you said we don't have anybody on Zoom, right?
Not yet,
I can
the
go
city
there.
clerk's office will be starting to plan this
I'll
momentarily.
go
So we do not have anyone on the comment.
Okay, so why don't we table the Zoom parts until the Zoom has commenced, so that if there is somebody who wants to do public comment, can. And if I can get a motion to put that on after item J2, so that we can get any Zoom comments if there are Zoom comments.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so if the Zoom comments come in before we get to I think before or after?
Is that after J2?
After J2, then we'll be able to take them. Okay. Moving on, we're moving now to items continued from previous agendas. There are no items. And so we are now moving to item J1, Historical Committee Reports. So the first one is Budget and Fundraising Committee. Commissioner Fernandez or Commissioner Klinger, do you have anything for that?
Not at this time.
Okay. Museum Committee, so we have, as far as I can see, we don't have anything on that. Outreach Committee, I do want to highlight that our Charter Day event is January 1, 2023 at the museum. And for those of you who haven't seen, it's actually advertised on the cable TV on the cable TV screen for Channel 8. And I believe it's also in the new newsletter for the city, correct? Okay, Manager Margolis is nodding his head. Okay, so that's all I have to say. Anybody else have anything to say regarding outreach activities?
No.
Okay. I will also point out that on Redondo Beach History Day, what I was thinking as a concept, that's March 11th, 2023, is that we have some of our long-term families kind of present their history in Redondo Beach as kind of like profiles, and people can actually learn about generations of people who've lived in the community. So if you have feedback on that, that would be great to hear. Okay, bringing history outdoors. We have 3 reports. One is on the path of history. We did have 2 markers go up, one at Vincent Park, which has been in the works for over a decade, and the other one at the Ainsworth Court staircase. You should be aware that your name is on the Ainsworth Court staircase marker. As a member of this commission, we are asking the public at this point to sponsor some of the markers. Right now, the old firehouse is in the works, and specifically, we were looking for sponsors. That one actually has been designed, and all we're doing is waiting for that. And then for those that are living in North Redondo, Aviation High School, we're trying to get that one off the ground, and that would be on by where the old site of Aviation High School is. We did a presentation to the council. I did a presentation to the council about a week ago with regards to putting together more markers and seeing if we can get support. On December 8th, we did get an article in the Easy Reader, and I encourage all of you to see if you can get a copy. It's available online, where there were pictures of our 2 dedications. Commissioner Cullen is in one of the pictures at one of the dedications, and it's actually the first of 2 weeks that you got in the Easy Reader for historical
have
stuff.
photos.
Okay, he has photos.
Maybe we can receive and file.
So moved.
Oh,
And you're in there.
oh. Is there any objection to receiving and filing these photos?
I made a motion, so is there a second?
Second.
There's a second.
Okay, it was moved by Commissioner Klinger, second by Commissioner Fernandez to receive and file the photos. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, those photos are received and filed, and you have to give, any public comment on that?
We do not have any comments, and David is not.
Okay, so Commissioner Klinger, you will pass that on to Mr. Margolis to include in the materials. Redondo Beach timeline at Dominguez Park. So we did get a quote from our former liaison, Orda, with regards to how much it costs for the signs. And it looks like it can be done for about $200 to $300 on a standard city sign. So hopefully we'll be, by the next meeting, have some more progress and information with regards to that project. The Ito Family Park Subcommittee. So I did go to the council last week and asked them to do a small dedication plaque so that the family can be recognized as having the park named after them. And we'll find out after the new year where that process is. The concept of the plan is moving forward. It's been approved by the Public Arts Commission, our commission, and the Parks and Recreation Commission. So my understanding is it's going to be presented to the council as part of a CIP project during the summer. And I don't know how long that's going to take. That's why we're looking to see if we can get at least a small dedication plaque going. And I guess we'll find out from Public Works if they want to do that. Anything from the Wilderness Park Landmark Designation Committee?
Yes, that one, we do have a couple of updates. Still working on the application, and it's interesting when you're working on these kinds of projects, they're very fun to work on, but also a bit humbling, because initially I was under the impression that around the holidays is the time to do it and people would be open to it, but during the holidays, people are like, I don't want to work, I want to spend time with my family. And so for that one, it's going to start getting rolled out next year, starting in January, maybe even like corresponding to the City Charter Day. hopefully it'll get through all the legal framework by the Wilderness Parks, by the Wilderness Parks birthday, and then we can have it finalized by the Redondo Beach City birthday next year. So that's the update there.
Okay, so you mentioned a presentation that you were putting together for this meeting. Are you on track to do it for the January meeting?
Yes.
Okay, and I think, what's the date that you would need the presentation materials? Was it a week before? That's what you said the last time? Okay, are you able to get to Mr. Margolis a copy of the presentation materials a week before the meeting?
Absolutely, because it would also be brought up to City Council at one of their earlier meetings. And I believe we had a motion during one of our earlier meetings here that would allow me to present that to City Council on behalf of the Historical Commission.
I would think it'd be more appropriate to share it with us first before you go to the council, just so that we're familiar with it if the council has questions, and if Mr. Margolis, who's new to the position, as well as Mr. Harding have questions as well. You may-
Well, the initial presentation would just be to get the City Council to agendize it. So it wouldn't be a City Council discussion, because first they would have to agendize it, and then we'll see it, and then it'll come up on the City Council's official agenda.
Okay, well, I think the first meeting is January 3rd, so it sounds like they will have at least a couple meetings before we even get one of our meetings on the ground in January.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to agendize it right away. I've rarely seen them do that. So I think it'll definitely come before this commission, before it comes as an agendized item before the City Council.
Okay, well, again, reach out to Mr. Margolis
Of course.
a week before so that he can at least put it in the materials. Okay, so we're moving back to anything you have, Commissioner Cullen, or?
On member items and referrals to
No, we're
staff?
not, we're on J1 at this point, to committee report. Okay, so are there any public comment on the committee reports? Okay,
Did we do oral histories?
what?
We have no e-comments.
Okay,
Did we do oral histories committee?
no report, so we're not. Okay, so can I get a motion to receive and file the oral reports?
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Klinger moved, is there a second?
Second?
Okay, Commissioner Cullen second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Okay, so we are done with item J1. We're now moving to item J2, which is our strategic plan for the museum. As you may recall, we've had a number of meetings where we've asked for discussion from committee members with regards to those items that people got assigned to be part of. So we've had feedback. At the last meeting, I said I'd start the process of writing a strategic plan. Fortunately for me, our liaison decided that he would like to have the first draft. And so he has proposed something to us, which again, this is a multi-stage process. So I will turn this over to Mr. Margolis to introduce the strategic plan.
Well, thank you, Chairperson Morocco. As I mentioned in the administrative report, it's basically clay on the table for you to start with. Obviously, it's a aspirational document because a lot of it will require staff and money in order to implement, or volunteers. So primarily, I think it can serve as a tool for you to decide how you're going to spend the money, I mean, to prioritize maybe some things in the plan so you can decide how to spend your money. And I would think that probably what the most important thing that needs to happen at the museum would be that as stewards of the museum, you need to identify what parts of the collection are most valuable and implement some standards to protect and save those. So I think you probably should start purchasing some archival materials so that anything that's in the collection that's valuable and at risk of disintegrating or losing it for whatever means, we start protecting that.
Okay. Any comments from commissioners?
Not from me.
Sounds good.
I want to thank Liaison Margolis for the report. It's very well put together. And I can see that a lot of time and effort went into it. So it's a great starting point. One of the other things that I wanted to bring up to this is we have a beautiful historic library, and thank you and Liaison Order for organizing the tour. I really enjoyed it. And one of the ideas that I've had while touring that beautiful facility is that whichever vendor is gonna get the facility, the walls are usually not gonna be fully covered with art. And we have a lot of postcards, newspaper clippings and so on that can be used to create a thematic, like the theme suggested in this report, art along the walls of certain rooms, and have that introduce the Redondo Beach culture to whomever is visiting it or for whatever purpose is being used. And I think if we just like focus on certain wall areas, I don't think there's going to be an objection from any vendors that do use it. And then we can also have a little bit of marketing going by basically saying this mini exhibit brought to you by the Redondo Beach Historical Commission of the Redondo Beach Museum. Please donate here to the museum fund in that venue. And by just focusing on key aspects of the walls, I don't think that's going to be controversial at all.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, so the goal that I think we really need to hit, I joke around with Mr. Margolis saying that this is his commitment to us to do this stuff. It's really, we are a unique commission in that a lot of the work actually has to get done by us as opposed to imposing on staff people to do stuff. So the goal too of developing human resources, the staff and volunteers, I see is going to be one of the most important thing to do. Mr. Margolis has been working hard to get us an actual staff person that will be able to keep the museum open. And I think one of the things that we kind of signed on as one of our responsibilities is to be the shepherds of the museum. And that means we really do need to make a stronger effort to get the museum open. So I'm going to say that developing the human resources is probably an important thing that we need to make as a first priority. I also, has got my interest with regards to, do we have a vault to put in all and secure all of the extra stuff that's not going to be on display? As you've indicated, some of the materials are very fragile and one of a kind, and maybe we need a fireproof vault at an offsite location so that some of the originals can be preserved. And that may be something we need to start focusing on and getting a place and some cost estimates on it. I know that the clerk's office has a fire vault, the Redondo Union High School historical group has a vault as well. So we probably need to get something. And so my suggestion with this strategic plan, unless you have any specific comments you want to address in it, is that we, as a commission, come back in January with at least a fresh perspective and really read into this plan and really put together your notes about what you think is important, what you think is the priority, where you would like to discuss. The biggest part of any strategic plan is the actual discussion that goes on among the stakeholders of the plan. So we really should take an active role in actually reviewing it and commenting on it and fashioning it so it's something that's relevant to us as a commission and something other than Commissioner Klinger, I think everybody's term is going to be on for a while, and just come up with something that we can work with. I do note, and in our next version, I guess we won't have the bingo theme parts anymore because we're not allowed to do that. Is that what you said?
The way I read the state law was we couldn't do it on city-owned property. I mean, you're allowed to have bingo, but it can't be on city property. So you'd have to find another venue for it.
Okay.
And I
So-
could be wrong about the way I read the law, too.
We have a state law expert now in
Great.
municipal law on our group.
Did you say bingo?
Bingo, it's on page 6 of 7.
Oh, well,
It's a way of raising funds.
well, the school district used to have bingo many, many years ago. They made a lot of money. It was held in the cafeteria of the high school, so
Okay, well, there you go. You have now an opinion
their
on it.
cafeteria, right?
Okay, so what I'm looking for, besides the motion to table this to our next meeting, is a commitment from each of you to say that by the next meeting on January 16th, you will have looked through the proposed strategic plan and come up with notes and things that we can do with it. So I'll start with you, Commissioner Klinger, since you're on my right. Is that a yes?
Well, regarding the commission statement that was made earlier, basically it's a 4-year term for all commissioners, and usually it's 2 commissioners that come up for a reinstatement in September 2023. So I'll still might be here for quite a while. You never know.
Great. So will you make the commitment to review the strategic plan and come to the next meeting with notes?
Of course, and
Okay, great.
I love the amount of effort that went into this plan. There's definitely a lot of great ideas here, and also a very good outline to follow.
Okay, and Commissioner Fernandez?
Yes, look forward to reviewing and coming up with notes and ideas.
Okay, and just so both you and Commissioner Klinger note, that one of the motivating factors on this is we have money in the budget that we haven't spent. And so we need to prioritize what we want to do. So if we need more money at the midterm alignments, or if we looking at next year's budget, if you recall, last year we didn't have much input, and the year before we didn't have input. So this is actually up your alleyway as well. Commissioner Collin, are you willing to do the same?
Yes.
Okay, and I will do the same as well. So now I just need any public comment?
Not the comments, and I'm afraid Zoom has not been
Okay. Then, and there's no comment in the chamber room, so can I get a motion to table this discussion until the next meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Commissioner Klinger moved, Commissioner Colin seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, so we have moved on through, and it passes, so we've moved on to item J2. This is where after item J2, we have a space for public comment. I believe there's been no Zoom comments, correct?
no chair right now.
Okay, so we are now closing the public comment from Zoom section, and now we move on to the member items and referrals to staff. So Commissioner Klinger, do you have any items that you would like to refer to staff?
Yes, 2 referrals. The first is I want to agendize the historical library discussion for the next meeting, because the way things usually work in Redondo is I know we're too late to submit the RFP, but the council is still going to be taking quite a few suggestions when they're going to be reviewing the RFPs, and that would be something for us to discuss. And since you've already given the all of us who wanted the tour of the facility, then I think the only thing left to do is just to agendize it for our next meeting.
Is to what?
Agendize. Agenda the historical library discussion for our next meeting.
That's how the commission gets items on the agenda. So he's going to we're going to take a vote then to decide whether we want to agendize it or not. And he's basically given you a time frame where he wants it on the agenda. So is there a second to that request to agendize having a discussion on the historical library?
Second.
Commissioner Cullen, second. Is there any discussion? Okay, it's been moved and second to agendize, to put on the agenda for our next meeting, a discussion on the historical library. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, so that's agendized, and so we'll see it on next month's agenda. Okay, and your second item, Commissioner Klinger?
The second one, I know we talked a little bit about where all of our collections are located. I mean, in terms of the archives. So what are the archives that we currently have? I know we have one in the Historical Museum, and probably, do we have one in the library or no? I'm just curious.
The only other place where you're storing things I know of is the Performing Arts Center.
Okay, I just wanted to follow up and see on that. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, and there's a third location, just so you know, it's all in City Hall. So there's a lot of historical photos in City Hall, which would technically fall under the museum's stewardship. So I'm just mentioning that there's a third place where we actually have stuff. There's old pictures, there's different kind of things that are in the City Hall as well. So when you get a tour, you may want to look at it. Okay, anything else, Commissioner Klinger?
Nope.
Okay. Commissioner Fernandez?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Commissioner Cullen?
One thing, since June of 2017, I have represented the mayor and his campaign committee and his campaign treasurer in a lawsuit that was brought against him and Rescue Our Waterfront and Wayne Craig, the principal officer of ROPAC, and Gene Zimmer, who was also a resident of Redondo Beach, has represented Niels Narenheim, who was also named as a defendant in that particular lawsuit. It was brought by two residents of the city, and it's been litigated now for over 5 years. The case went to trial in Department 55 with Judge Mackey, and Judge Mackey ruled in favor of Mayor Brand and all the other defendants, and also awarded attorney's fees and costs to Mayor Brand and the remaining defendants of approximately $1 million. And that amount has been generating 10% interest since about August of 2019. The plaintiffs who lost at the trial level appealed the judgment of the court, the trial court, and the Second District Court of Appeal ruled in favor of Mayor Brandon and the defendants and affirmed the trial court's findings and the judgment. After that action, the two plaintiffs then filed an appeal, sought review of the Court of Appeal decision, and the California Supreme Court agreed to hear the case. And we argued the case before the California Supreme Court on December the 7th. So the decision is likely to come out within the next 90 days. So we're waiting for that. But in all the years that I've been involved in city politics, I don't have a recollection of a mayor of Redondo Beach being sued and having the matter go to the California Supreme Court. And I thought in terms of the history of the city, that's important that we at least note the action and the fact that the matter went before the Supreme Court. So what I have done is I've put together some items that pertain to the case, the Court of Appeal decision, the notice from the California Supreme Court of oral argument calendar, and photographs of the mayor and Councilman Narenheim and Wayne Craig at the Supreme Court on December the 7th, just to document the event. While we were in the courtroom, the clerk presented the attorneys, myself and Gene Zimmer, with a little brochure with a little gold tassel on it to just include our appearance and what the issue was before the Supreme Court that day. So I have made a copy of this and I've included it in this package. So I'd like to have us receive and file the documents. We're not making any comments on the likelihood of victory or defeat, but I think it just marks the history of the action and how far it has gone up the judicial ladder. So my motion would be that we receive and file these and.
Do you want to read them off so it's part of the record?
Sure. The first item is a two-page document. It is the oral argument calendar filed November 16th of 2022. The next item is a copy of the brochure. It is 7 pages. The third item is a copy of the Court of Appeal decision. And the fourth item consists of photographs. Let's see, 4 photographs showing Mayor Brand, Niels Narenheim, Wayne Craig, and myself and Ms. Zimmer at the Supreme Court. So
It's been moved to receive and file those documents. Is there a second?
Second, but I also want to discuss a little bit because I believe that was in relation to Measure C, like around that election, right?
The Measure C on March 7th of 2017.
Yeah. And because I want to point out that despite being massively outfunded, the activists did end up showing Redondo Beach that Measure C should have passed, and it did. And 4 years later on, mostly as a result of Measure C, Mayor Brand was able to cruise to re-election with 68% of the vote. So like election-wise, a lot of Redondoans went out and voted, and it was a really big issue for the city. And I just want to note that as well. And I second.
Okay. And I will comment as well. Here you go. I actually got to watch the live stream of it. And it is available if any member of the public wants to view it. Well, it should be available at this point in time, the oral arguments. But Commissioner Cullen did a fantastic job of presenting the materials. It's difficult enough to go in front of Court of Appeals, in this case, the Supreme Court. But he did it with about the size of this much of paper on the desk, and he was well prepared. As one of the best oral arguments I've seen done in a really long time. So I do commend him, and hopefully he will also be writing a brief synopsis once the opinion's done, that we can also put it in the museum with the documents that you've asked us to receive.
I will. And I have to say, I expected to be a little nervous when I got there, but that day and in that courtroom, it was very calming, because when I walked in, it seemed like it was UC Davis Law Day at the Supreme Court. There was another case, it was a criminal case that was on the docket that afternoon. And before we actually were allowed into the courtroom, I was talking to some of the lawyers who were appearing that day, and they were also graduates of UC Davis Law School. I thought, what a coincidence. And then as we're sitting there, the justices all walk in, and of course, the Chief Justice is also a graduate of UC Davis Law School. So that made things very comforting and very calming. So it really was a nice experience. It really was. And it was nice having co-counsel, Gene Zimmer with me, who's been with me on this case since we answered the complaint back in July of 2017.
I was just about to ask for historical reasons, and just really quickly, I want to congratulate Argentina and Messi on their historic victory. And then strictly for historical reasons, I did want to ask you how it was running into your classmate who was the Chief Justice. Is she like, Stephen? I thought you were kicking my ass in law school. What happened? So how was it?
I'll tell you, it was really calming to see one of your classmates sitting up there as the Chief Justice. Yeah, it blows your mind.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to receive and file. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, anything else, Commissioner Cullen?
No.
Okay, I have a number of items on my list. We've talked about putting a model of a red car in Dominguez Park. But thanks to Mr. Margolis, we saw that there was actually a sculptor who has done something in Long Beach similar with a model of a red car. So I am hoping, and I think Mr. Margolis already said he would look into it. There's a possibility of something being funded at the Transit Center, which is middle of the discussions at this point. So Mr. Margolis, if you can actually talk to Public Arts, that would be appreciated, and see if that's something that can get funded. Or if that doesn't work, we always have the ability on that pad at Dominguez Park, and Commissioner Cullen, you were going to find out a little bit about that as well. So I appreciate that. Path of History, this is a plea for people to sponsor markers. We have 2 up. We have an ambitious project of about 35 more signs to put up. We have one that's fabricated. We also have a red car one. So if we get one of these, if we get this Patrick Vogel designed sculpture, we actually can have a Path of History marker next to it that it kind of explains a little bit about it. Our next marker, for those living in North Redondo that are listening to this, and I should have mentioned it to Mr. Kilroy, is that we are looking to get our next marker designed for Aviation High School, which will be right by the Performing Arts Center. We have designed, as I indicated earlier, one for the old City Hall. We just need to get some sponsors so that we can put them on there. Another member item is the Charter Day celebration. We're 74 years since our last charter, about 90 since our first charter, and I would like it if we could get some volunteers to come to the museum that day to work, and so we can open it up for maximum celebration. And then my last member item of referral to staff, I still would love to see if we can come up with a protocol for moving pictures around in the museum to see who, for example, is responsible for picking up big pictures off the wall, and so we can put up other pictures on the wall and just kind of go through the museum. If any of you are interested in helping with the design for the next, for the museum, please let Mr. Margolis know that you are interested in helping with the protocols, because we have some amazing stuff that's been donated recently that would be great to be able to put on the wall. Okay, I think that's it for me. Any other comments? Any public comment? Any Zoom comments? No Zoom? Okay, well, par for the course. Let's move to the next item on the list, which is adjournment. The next meeting of the Redondo Beach Historical Commission will be a regular meeting held at 7 p.m. on January 18th, 2023 in the Redondo Beach Council Chambers at 415 Diamond Street, Redondo Beach, California. It's the intention of the city of Redondo Beach to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act in all respects. If as an attendee or participant at this meeting, you will need special assistance beyond what is normally provided, the city will attempt to accommodate you in every reasonable manner. Please contact the city clerk's office at 310-318-0656 at least 48 hours prior to the meeting to inform us of your particular needs and to determine if an accommodation is feasible. Please advise us at that time if you will need accommodations to attend or participate in any meetings. An agenda packet will be available 24 hours at www.redondo.org under the city clerk. Actually, before we take a motion for that, Commissioner Cullen, if you do win, if you can have one of the parties come here and address us as a history maker, that would be nice.
Okay.
And if you can get the other history makers that you have in mind to come down, that would be nice too. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Klinger moved, Commissioner Fernandez second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much for attending, sir. Thank you, commissioners, for coming down right before the holidays.